Okay, I believe that it is recording. And with that, hello, listeners, and welcome to Lindy Grow Radio Show number 4, I believe. And we're excited to be here. My name is Reese. I am one of the brothers. This is my brother.
John.
His name is John. My name is Reese. John, what were you just eating?
Oh, I was eating some Oreos. I was inspired by you eating some knockoff Dorito Takis, something like that. Yep, this is not a paid advertisement, but they're apparently they set the bar.
And if you want to advertise, if you want to sponsor us, Oreos or Doritos Dynamita, or for that nature, Gardettos.
We'd love, yeah.
Any and all the above.
Happily represent.
If you're any food company, we will eat your food on our show.
That is not true, but
reach out. Give us slide into our DMs. The funny thing with these Dynamitas is, I was definitely nomming on them before the show. I was just catching up because we're brothers, and we're interested in each other's lives. And my mouth,
very sincere.
My mouth is still pretty red, and my tongue is crazy. And that was after like multiple minutes of washing it, brushing it with a toothbrush. Like it ain't good for your health. I don't know what they got in there, but it ain't good. Yeah, right.
I mentioned that the term is, I think we live in the future when, like they've got blue ones, they got red ones, and it just like permanently dyes your body.
Yeah, it's like there's red 40 and this is like red 4,000. Need your heart? Are you worried about your heart being not good? Don't worry, eat some Takis because they'll make it redder. And it'll look more like a heart. Were you eating the Oreo with the boots with the fur, or just with the just double stuffed or no double stuffed?
Oh, regular. I used to be a big double stuffed fan, but regular it's just better. It's got better proportions. Especially it works better with milk, and I'm pretty strong on this. Like I used to be a big double stuffed. Much more mature. Turns out the Oreo, the people who designed Oreos, Mr. Nabisco.
It's Mrs. Nabisco, John.
Miss. She had it right.
Right. They did. They
double
knew what they were doing.
You don't need it. You don't need double stuff. You don't need all the extra stuff.
You don't need the
super out of focus right now.
I know. It's weird. Sometimes this is like $150 like Logitech, whatever the hell. But sometimes it does this, and then you have to do this, and then you kind of zoom out, and you're like, no, come back. Okay. Oh, you're almost there, but not quite. Let's try again. And then you're like, okay. Oh, there we go. Now we back, baby.
The funny thing is, it's like normally most would probably, or like most webcams would like probably try hunting for focus, but this one's just like, nah, I'm good with this.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep it chill. So your cat's in the background. My cat, not actually my cat, but my house cat, Shadow, is about to be here and is about to be on my lap. Come on, Shadow.
Woo!
Come on. You know. And he looks at stuff and he doesn't know. So today we're going to chat about our we don't listen to too many musicals, but definitely our favorite musical.
In fact, I would even say I like actively dislike most musicals.
What's the one musical you've loved, John?
The one musical I've loved is Hamilton. By Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's it took a little bit to sort of get into for me. Like again, I really do not care for musicals. I guess I don't love. This is almost certainly similar to like sort of reggaeton and the rest of sort of Latin music that we were talking about last time. But like maybe I haven't listened to it enough, but it sounds so rote. All musicals just sound so rote, and I think that's where like Hamilton really does, from my perspective, the uneducated perspective, it doesn't sound so deeply like a musical.
And it has like some of the best parts of the musical with like the cool voices and the big ensemble cast, whatever, and telling stories in a better way and the emphasis on lyrics. And then it doesn't sound like a musical because it's not Yeah, it's rap. It's hip hop, the hippity hop.
Yeah, it's just it uses. I mean, I think Manuel Miranda. He mentioned Lin-Manuel Miranda. I want to be able to shorten it. Miranda. I'm gonna call him Mr. Miranda.
Nice.
But yeah, he just took a lot of modern patterns and use them to tell a long form story. Whereas, like, I think in the past, in a lot of musicals, it just sounds so similar. And like, yeah, there's some greats out there, but like, it just
they're all kind of going ba ba da ba da ba. I don't know, and I'm not sure if I'm giving it the right thing, but yeah, I'm imagining. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they're all their instrumentation is super similar. Again, this is from the uneducated view. I'm sure there's someone out there who'd be like,
this is like someone who says, who has never really listened to musicals, being like, I don't like them. So they all sound the same.
Asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. Huge ass asterisk. I think that it is and it's the other funny thing I'm thinking about is whether or not Hamilton has how many other hip hop and rap musicals there were beforehand, because I know, and we'll actually get to this and I know that like some of our friends didn't really listen to the raps, and then when they listened to Hamilton, they were like, "Oh, I like rap now," and you're like, "Okay, I guess welcome," but I guess a little bit weird that it took
It's been going on for a while. Yeah. Pretty good for a while.
So let's play a song. We're gonna play 5 songs from it.
Briefly, that vaguely reminds me of Macklemore.
Yes, Hondo P.
Yeah, and I mean, his whole song of white privilege, and white privilege too, I think.
The white privilege was after he got big.
No, but that's my point, is that it talks all about that, where it's like, white Karens of the world as parents would be like, I don't want my kids listening to like gangster rap, but Macklemore, he's fine and wholesome. Yes, and it's like, wait a second, hold on, like you're giving him way too much of credit. I mean, and he admits that, and he's aware of that situation.
Yeah. So let's hit things up with Aaron Burr, Sir, which is the first song, and the whole story of Hamilton is about Aaron Burr. I haven't actually seen it. Have you seen it, John?
Yeah, Disney Plus just put it on or something like that.
Yeah,
I only watched it recently. I watched it.
That's
sorry, I didn't. I wasn't
watch
honored enough to
get a ticket.
Watch it IRL.
We're not that rich. We could use help. Please support us on Patreon.
Exactly. Oreos, please.
We need it. Yeah, but it.
But I watched the.
Okay, that's good. So you can talk about the plot, because I have never actually seen it.
Have you listened to the lyrics?
I get the general gist, but
oh
in
my
any case,
God, this is one of the few things that I like. I've listened to the lyrics, and they're easy to deeply appreciate.
Aaron Burr versus Hamilton. That's the rough thing, and this is an intro song. Aaron Burr, Sir. That intro is Aaron Burr and other folks. Let's give it a listen.
1776. New York City.
Pardon me, are you Aaron Burr, sir?
That depends. Who's asking?
Oh, well, sure. Sir, I'm Alexander Hamilton. I'm at your service, sir. I have been looking for you.
I'm getting nervous.
Sir, I heard your name at Princeton. I was seeking an accelerated course of study. When I got sort of out of sorts with a buddy of yours, I may have punched him. It's a blur. Sir, he handles the financials.
You punched the bursar.
Yes, I wanted to do what you did, graduating to enjoy.
Now I'm going to jump a little bit into it.
The revolution, he looked at me.
Yo, what time?
And now it's like they introducing other folks.
Yes.
Fools who run their mouths off wind up dead.
Yo, what time is it? Showtime!
Like I said.
Showtime, yo! I'm John Lawrence in the place to be. A 2 pints of Sam Adams, but I'm working on 3. Those red coats don't want it with me, cause I will pack, chick-a-plack these cops till I'm free. Hey, oui, mon ami, je...
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It's
great.
funny.
So, go ahead.
I just was gonna say, yeah, it's nice because you have. It's just they do a good job of mixing the vibes. I was gonna say nothing else.
Yeah. This is that song's pretty much it's functionally the first song of the play. There's an intro song, but perfect, very much in focus. But so it's an introduction between him and Aaron Burr, and it's crazy. You might not hear it in the like little snippets that we listen to, but there are just so many motifs that are referenced over and over and over again across the entire play.
What's an example of that? What do you mean, like, what's a motif that's referenced?
One of them is, we'll listen to the song Wait For It, but that line Wait For It is referenced a handful of times across the rest of the play. And then there's other, like, oh gosh, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but you notice them, especially when you listen to it a lot. And it makes this diverse sort of play. It sort of ties all these threads together. But it also, the guy with the French accent is a dude who's he's in Clipping. What's his name?
David Diggs.
David Diggs, yeah. By the way, recommend Clipping. Super.
David Diggs. Let's actually come back to David Diggs in a hot second because he's amazing. We're going to listen to Cabinet Battle #1, which is a rap battle, and this is just a great example of what they can do with the form, where it's like rap battles as a form. Let's do it and like do a cabinet thing. Let's check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere in the world tonight, but you're here with us in New York City. Are you ready for a cabinet meeting, huh? The issue on the table: Secretary Hamilton's plan to assume state debt and establish a national bank. Secretary Jefferson, you have the floor, sir.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We fought for these ideals, we shouldn't settle for less. These are wise words, enterprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, cause I wrote them. Ow, but Hamilton forgets. His plan would have the government assume state debts. Now place your bets as to who that benefits. The very seat of government where Hamilton sits.
Not true.
Oh, if the shoe fits, wear it. If New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South, cause we got it made in the shade.
And I'm gonna go to a little bit of the response at the very end.
We plant seeds in the...
This is two shits. Hey, turn around, bend over. I'll show you where my shoe fits. Excuse me. Madison, Jefferson, take a walk. Hamilton, take a walk. We're gonna reconvene after a brief recess. Hamilton, sir, a word.
You don't have the votes.
You don't have the votes. You're gonna need congressional approval, and you don't have the votes.
The line of, it's like, if the shoe fits, wear it. If New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? And then, turn around, bend over, I'll show you where the shoe fits from Hamilton is just a great, just classic rap battle, firing shots at each other.
Rap battles is dope. Rap battles is mad dope. And it makes sense with what this. Yeah, it makes sense given that Peoples was talking about who should do what and federalism versus non-federalism and taxation, all this crap. I think that one says the man who knows the history. So I think that there's a David Diggs is an amazing guy. He's in Clipping, Clipping, period, and he's also in the movie. Oh boy, it's an amazing movie. David Diggs. Home Spotting. Have you seen Home Spotting?
You mentioned it.
Dude.
I haven't. Yeah.
Dude, seriously, you gotta watch it. You should put it on your list. Like, get your pen and write it or somewhere. I'll take. I'm gonna. It's on my list. Yeah. It's so good because it's him and his friend. He's black and his friend is white, and they both grew up in Oakland, and they're talking about what it was about race in Oakland. And it's an amazing bit on racism and friendship and moving through that. And David Diggs and the friend, they do lots of rapping with each other, and a lot of the story gets told through their rapping. And it's cool to see how they bring in the music with the stuff. So that's David Diggs. classic kind of childish Gambino type who's really good at lots of stuff.
Yeah. I think another thing to note is so there's like two main acts to the play, and one is like sort of pre-U.S. beating the British and winning the war, and then post. And in the pre-section, or the first act, David Diggs, a lot of the characters that you hear and that you see in the play play two different characters in Act 1 and Act 2. And so, for instance, like David Diggs plays Lafayette in Act 1, and then he plays Franklin? No, what? Jefferson.
Oh, okay. Great, yeah.
Whatever
it is you do in Monticello, yeah.
Yeah. And then so does the actor who plays
Leslie Odom Jr.
Well, he's the same Amber throughout the whole thing. But the guy who played pretty much the three dudes. Oh my God. This is killing me. But the three guys that are introduced after Aaron Burr and Aaron Burser, this is bugging me. But Hercules Mulligan and one other dude. But they both have different. One is Madison in the second act, and the other is actually Hamilton's son. And so it's interesting to. They did this play with not a whole lot of people. If you watch it, you start to see, you're like, oh man, there's like 8 people plus like a little bit of ensemble, and almost it's tiny.
I forgot about that. I was doing some Googling on it beforehand, and it was cool to see. It's I saw that there's not that many and that's kind of like that's a play thing where you use multiple people for multiple folks and just like put different clothes on or whatever. So now let's listen to Helpless.
One thing I did want to hit on is what we should play? I think we could have referenced one of the King's skits, but it's almost certainly not the first time that rap has been used in an interesting way that sort of like convey a political, mostly cold and boring, or normally cold and boring kind of thing, like a cabinet meeting. But this is so accessible and, in my opinion, very, very well executed. And I think that is like one of the really, one of the charms and huge strengths of Hamilton as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that it provides a complex subject in a delightful rapper, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think there's one thing too, I didn't realize, I should have really known that it was a thing, but I didn't really realize that Hamilton was, I don't know if operetta is the right term, but all of it is sung. There's sung through. Yeah, sung through. There's like literally one line that's not sung through or something like that, but everything else sung through. And normally I think that's sort of stuff I couldn't deal with, but that's definitely.
Because the nice thing is that because like rapping is just kind of talking, so it's easier to sing through something when you can like quote unquote rap it, but you're really talking.
For sure, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
I know it got critiqued for being too simplistic, for creating this narrative of, this great man. It's just a classic, great man history thing where it's like, oh, it's Hamilton versus Aaron Burr. And it is, in fact, the reality of the situation was that we've been moving away from that kind of history of the founding fathers as a thing. And instead it's just like, nope, it was a bunch of different people, which is complicated. And so it's hard to understand that. And so this kind of simplified it and was cool for that reason, but also was critiqued for that reason.
Yeah. And I think, I would say, I don't know enough about the history.
That's the thing. These are PhDs in history that are like, look, this is not a legit history involved for someone like you. You're like, this makes sense. Or whatever.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, it opens up a larger question about like, statues and the characters of the past and how it interacts with racism and slavery and sexism and anti-gay and all that shit. Like, I don't know. I think that there's an interesting conversation to be had about all of that and how Hamilton relates to it.
Let's come back to that after we listen to Helpless. I know I tried to play Helpless before, but can I play the next song?
You can. I'll let you play it.
Okay. This is Helpless. We got 16 songs to go through today, so just making sure that we get to all of our songs. Helpless is interesting because it's a little bit less rappy. So let's check it out.
Spotlight. We were at a revel with some rebels on a hot night, laughing at my sister as she dazzled in the room. Then you walked in and my heart went boom, trying to catch your eye from the side of the ballroom. Everybody's dancing in the band's top volume. Grind to the rhythm as we wine and dine. Grab my sister and whisper, yo, this one's mine. Ooh, my sister made her way across the room to you, and I got nervous thinking, what you gonna do? She grabs you by the arm, I'm thinking I'm through. Then you look back at me and suddenly I'm helpless. Oh, look at those eyes, oh, yeah, I'm helpless. Down for the count and I'm drowning in them.
Yay.
Man, Philippa Sue is so good.
Does she do other stuff?
I don't know. Almost certainly, I would imagine, but I just like it. It's just lovely to listen to her.
Yeah, she does not do any other stuff. She was in a Netflix film called Over the Moon, which is like a random animated thing, and she had one song in it. But yeah, she's great. That makes me think, and now to your point about anti-gay sexism stuff. One interesting thing about this movie is that it did an amazing job of pushing forward Black and brown voices into the forefront. And I love the line that that he said about this, which was it's our country's past told through our country's present. Like told with the people that we have today. And yeah, so cool to just elevate those voices. It is interesting though, because it's still he kept the kind of male-centric part of the past, which is, and this is the classic awkward thing about the past, which like the past was kind of white and male. And so, okay, well, let's just take the white males and make them Black males, but how many like females should we get up in there? I don't know. What were you saying though about what's the conversation about how Hamilton mixes into a statues conversation?
So there's this whole, with the political unrest and all that sort of stuff, and George Floyd and all these things sort of flared up these tensions, and people were like, it started kind of, I don't know, taking a microscope to some degree to like the past of or the lives of some of our like
Jefferson had slaves, George Washington had slaves, etc.
Which is like, it's, so there's like a couple of sides to it. So here's the reason I like sort of point that out is that like, is it okay? The question is like, we tear down, people tear down statues of like Jefferson, and like someone tore down a statue of like Ulysses S. Grant, and it was just like, sure, these, in some cases, some of these people are, did really, really horrible things, and they're known for it, they're proud of those things, and that's fucked up. But like, is it okay for like, Puerto Rican immigrant to write a story sort of lionizing the pretty much slave owners, and doing so with like, you know, mostly people, or I think almost exclusively people of color cast. And it, I
yeah, is
tend,
Lin-Manuel Miranda doing something wrong by being like, look, I'm just repping slave owners here? It's like, well, it's like, that's not good, Lin-Manuel, you know.
yeah,
And he's like, no, but I'm doing it in this way, which just like elevates black and brown voices. Like, sorry, dude, you're just like repping the bad people, you know. So yeah, I think that's
yeah.
an interesting comment.
Well, and I also wonder too, like, if, I don't know, there's like weird double standards that apply to all that sort of stuff too, or not double standards, but just like if we look back and we look, you know, at people are products of their time, and that doesn't excuse their actions, but it also maybe tempers them to some degree. I don't know. I mean,
100%. If being a slave owner today is worse than being a slave owner 300 years ago.
Yeah, like I think there's an interesting question of like, oh, if you were like upper middle class white male in, you know, like 1740,
You had slaves.
I would probably own slaves. That's just
Yes.
what in would I have the moral fortitude and the awareness and all that? I'd obviously
Maybe
like to
you
think
would
so.
get built as an abolitionist. Maybe, you know, if somehow your parents taught you that and the school somehow taught you that, et cetera, et cetera. But
But then
pretty unlikely.
the next piece of that puzzle, of course, is like, am I cool with the gays? You know, like you know, with you know, like you know, any sort of like queer sexuality or whatever that is, like, would I be cool with that? So obviously not. You know, you probably look at like, you know, Martin Luther King, and he probably wasn't like 100% down with, you know, homosexuality.
LGBTQ plus, yeah.
Exactly. In you know, we can, I don't know. I like, in general, I tend to sort of be like, what are people proud of from a legacy point of view, and what do they want to be remembered for? And it's like it's like with like Christopher Columbus. Like Columbus wanted to be remembered for transporting the most amount of slaves into the free world as possible. Fuck that dude. But like, you know, someone like George Washington, do you think you'd want to be remembered for like owning slaves and being a dickhead in that way? I don't think that's what he would sort of, you know, like think is a key piece of that puzzle. I don't know. Maybe it's almost certainly biased by whiteness and privilegedness. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of the difference between intent and impact. And it's like, oh, George Washington is like, oh, I want to be remembered for, you know, my founding a nation of freedom. It's like, well, your impact was actually, you know, the 3/5 compromise and owning slaves and whatever. And so that's a classic balance. I do think though, and the reason, my main thing about this is just how it impacts my day-to-day life today, which is to really try to think 100 years in the future, you know, if not more, and to say, okay, what can I do day to day to try to be a good person, you know, from the year 2100 perspective. And what that means is, you know, don't eat tons of meat. You know, just don't. I mean, I was just watching this video the last. Factory farming is awful. And so don't be killing the chickens, and don't and try to recognize the abundance that we have and try to use that to self-tax ourselves. And I think, and then that self-taxing both for giving to random other poor folks around the world, but also giving to climate change and stuff like that. And so I think that trying to think from that legacy mindset is helpful.
Yeah, the briefly on that, my version of that is we look at the older generation as absolutely bigoted because they're like not, you know, like completely understanding of LGBTQ plus sort of lifestyles and to some degree race. And I think to myself, I ask myself, like, what will I be bigoted for? Or why would people call me bigoted in the future? And I think that relates to, or I relate it mostly to like sexuality and
incest stuff, right? Isn't that your shtick? It's like being cool with incest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like a relatively strong argument for being cool with incest.
Yes, no, I agree. I mean, it's like y'all can do you. Technically not allowed by the state right now, just like gay stuff wasn't. But as long as y'all be chatting with each other, and if y'all be using the like, he does get into conversations about having children and like, don't be wanting to create like deformed kids or whatever. But
The crazy thing about that is we let people like, even after they take a like genetic test and it's like, oh yeah, this is a strong marker that your kid's gonna have some sort of genetic deformation or whatever it is.
We allow it. Yeah.
We just totally allow. We're like, oh yeah, cool, go ahead. Like, and I mean, incest becomes generally from like a deformation point of view, multiple generations is really where it becomes really problematic. And I mean, the thing is that there's all these things like, oh, like
slippery slope, man.
What about the power dynamics or whatever? It's like, yeah, power dynamics are bad and should be mitigated in any relationship. And men and women and of all types are exploited by partners all the time. But do we make that shit illegal?
Though it is a thing of like, if you allow folks to, if you're creating a situation where those power dynamics are more apparent, like for example, if you allow father-daughter relationships, then it's like, okay, that's going to be more likely to have difficult power relationships than another. And so maybe we should think about that. The cousin, the other piece here, and I think we should listen to the next song, is there's a cousin marriage used to be much more allowed. It was allowed around the world much more, and it was a way to kind of create lineages. And now we don't allow cousin marriage style things. We start to outlaw it as a way to kind of break down that thing.
Like,
so TLDR, what's up?
You're saying like dynastic stuff, or?
Yeah, exactly. It was a way you wanted to like marry cousins and other folks into the family. You kind of wanted to marry in the family, not too close, but not too far, and to keep your like lineage strong and coherent. And and then we stopped allowing that in the in the 1500s through to 2000s.
Yeah. Really briefly too, I think that what's the current conversation about that sort of
Mr. President, we ask.
Oh my God, dick. The current. So, I mean, same-sex marriage and that sort of stuff is pretty much figured out. Like, yeah, do what you want. From the public's point of view, but the next thing I think will be, polygamy, polyandry, polyamory, all that sort of stuff. And I think that will be. That will be the next sexual freedom battle. And, I think that, that's just what I'm...
and Massachusetts just allowed not polygamous, that's the one that's just males. Polyamorous, they allowed that as part of their different marriage and like partnership forms. So,
again, you return to just like, do you? As long as you're two consenting adults, pretty much is like the core fundamentals there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We return to music.
Okay. So this next song, exactly. It's like this is a radio show, John. So sorry. One last time is the name of this. What is this one? Why did you want to put it on? Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to put this on because I think it's actually again, all the PhDs with degrees and all that with more knowledge will be like, actually, that's not how it happened. And it'll be like, probably right. But this song is about how George Washington is not running for president after his first 2 terms. His first term, I forget exactly what it was. But he's focusing on the fact that it's like, hey, I'm not connecting the longevity of the nation with the longevity of me. And so I'm going to pretty much like take this opportunity to, move them along and all that.
Got it.
And I think that's very poignant right now.
Sure, cool.
Mr. President, you asked to see me. I know you're busy. What do you need, sir? Sir?
I want to give you a word of warning.
Sir, I don't know what you heard, but whatever it is, Jefferson started it.
Thomas Jefferson resigned this morning.
You're kidding.
I need a favor.
Whatever you say, sir, Jefferson will pay for this behavior.
Talk less.
I'll use the press, I'll write under a pseudonym. You'll see what I can do to him.
I need you to draft an address.
Yes, he resigned. You can finally speak your mind.
No. He's stepping down so he can run for president.
Good luck defeating you, sir.
I'm stepping down, I'm not running for president.
I'm sorry, what?
One last time. Relax, have a drink with me. One last time. Let's take a break tonight, and then we'll teach him how to say goodbye. To say goodbye, you and I.
No, sir.
I want to talk about neutrality.
Yeah. Also, the hilarious line of Hamilton's line of like, I don't know what you heard, but whatever it is, Jefferson started it.
Yeah, it's Jefferson, man. It was Jefferson, man. That was funny. Yeah, that's. If only Trump had a beautiful operatic voice that where he could just say, "Hey, let's hang out and have a drink one last time."
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna help him move along to the next. Yeah.
It's a big moment when you have Nigeria is having democracy issues, and they had democracy issues like family issues. 2015 was the first time that they had a non-incumbent win an election. And that's just like a big moment, and so and this is another big moment at the beginning of a democracy. It's like, okay, IG Dubs, I'm going to pass it along, like whoever's next is next, but I'm not going to stay in power. So that's a big moment.
Yeah. In the next song, it goes back to the King of England, and he's like George Washington stepping down. I didn't realize that was something a person could do. And it's just like a great juxtaposition. This is all I'll say. Again, the historians will probably be like, actually, this maybe not, whatever. But by the story, it's a powerful thing to, as the first president, you're the general who led them to victory, all those things, like people would probably be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, do it until you're dead. But instead he's like, no, this needs to outlive me. And that's a line too, where it's like, this is the only way for like the country to outlive me when I'm gone. And so I think this is just like maybe one of the most powerful songs in my opinion,
Yeah.
the play.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's funny for me to. Yeah, it's a good jam. And maybe possibly the most powerful song of all the songs is "Wait For It." Is this your favorite song? It's my favorite song.
It's clearly the most
poppy.
And it's, Leslie Odom Jr. is just the funny thing about this whole play is that Lin-Manuel Miranda is skilled in his own right, obviously, in my opinion, a brilliant writer, but he's functionally completely outshone by the rest of his cast members. And Leslie Odom, Leslie Odom Jr. is probably the one who does it maybe most. But also, who's the woman who is Eliza's sister? Is it Eliza? Angelica. What is her name? I forget her name. Regardless, she is also absolutely brilliant.
Good. Okay, cool. Let's check. I'm gonna check it out. Wait for it.
Theodosia writes me a letter every day. I'm keeping her bed warm while her husband is away. He's on the British side in Georgia. He's trying to keep the colonies in line. Well, he can keep all of Georgia. Theodosia, she's mine. Love doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep loving anyway. We laugh and we there's a reason I'm by her side, and so many have tried, then I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. My grandfather was a fire and brimstone preacher. But there are things that the homilies and hymns won't teach ya. My mother was a genius. My father commanded respect. When they died, they left no instructions, just a legacy to protect. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes and it takes and it takes, and we keep living anyway. We rise and we fall and we break and we make our mistakes. And if there's a reason I'm still alive when everyone who loves me has died, I'm willing to wait for it. Wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it.
Good. It's a good jam. Yeah, there's a the Song Exploder does a really good overview. Did you watch that either, by the way?
I haven't.
Yeah. It's this is what we do. I tell John to do things and he doesn't do them.
You should put it on the list. Put it on the list.
I'll put on the non-existent list. That's why I guess I was wrong. I was like, oh, he's putting it on a list. Well, it turns out there's no list.
I don't have a fucking list.
Yeah,
Reese has got a list for everything. I don't have a list right now.
Okay, I guess I should keep track of your list. In any case, the things that John should do that I told him to do. They talk about how he created the song, and it is a great episode. It's 20 minutes. It's on Netflix. It's really nice, and it is. Yeah, it's cool to hear all these. There's tons of little. He wrote it on a train in Brooklyn. Got to his friend's party. Was there for like one drink. Was like, I gotta go. I'm midway in the song. Like, I'm really digging it. You get to hear his original like recording, which sounds pretty similar to this thing that he just did on his phone, walking around the streets of Brooklyn. And I guess for him it's there's a lot of like sub pieces around how the different background singers and how wait for it, and how the different kinds of how it starts with one and goes to like multiple and then two and then three. And then there's also stuff about how wait for it is shown in the song, like at that first bit.
We laugh and we cry, and so many have tried, then I'm willing to wait for it. I'm willing to wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. My grandfather was
still waiting there instead of actually going into the chorus was something he talked about. And then later in the song, I don't think I'll be able to find it, but there's a thing where he doesn't even, there's like he waits for, he does a lot of wait. There's a lot of like weird waiting for it in the song.
Yeah, it's definitely the most poppy song it's the most similar to something you would hear on the radio. But it also, the energy of the sort of that chorus is, I think, unbelievably rich. And like, I like it, like I'll be downstairs woodworking, or I'll be hanging out, or I'll drive in the car, and I still like, in my head, I'm like, fuck yes, give it to me. I think from a topic or theme perspective, like it is Aaron Burr's anthem. Like, he is methodical and patient, and that ends up, it does great things for like pretty much the whole story. This entire story is all about sort of like impulsive action versus sort of like thoughtful, considerate not waiting, but sort of inaction, roughly.
Aaron Burr, inaction, at Hamilton, action. Yeah,
exactly. And it gets like Aaron Burr, like lots of good things work out for him because he does wait and he doesn't get in too much trouble and all this sort of stuff. But then, like sometimes it kind of fucks him because there's the whole song about like, no one was in the room, or like he wants to be in the room when things happen, like as decisions were made. But it's like, hey, it turns out like if you just like do nothing, then you won't be in the room. Whereas like the like opposite happens for Hamilton, where he he like just constantly pushes and pushes and pushes, and sometimes it bites him in the ass. And like, you know, like George Washington is like, yo, get the fuck out of here, go home. And you know, like he ends up, you know, like cheating on his wife and all this sort of stuff, this impulsivity and
talk less, smile more. Yeah.
Exactly. It's exactly. And so I think this like is another reason this, like, I think the song is so powerful is that it sets the theme.
It's the zenith of that relationship, kind of.
It is truly, or it is the purest representation
of Burr, especially
of Aaron Burr.
Yeah, totally. And that's what Lin-Manuel Miranda talks a lot about in this in the song Exploder. Yeah, it's crazy. The other crazy thing is that he Aaron Burr freaking killed Hamilton in a duel, which is crazy. Does that show up in the movie or whatever, in the play?
Yes, dude. You've listened to it. That's like the whole last song.
I've listened to the whole thing, but you know me, I listened to it when it came out X years ago, and I listened to the whole thing, and I chose my 5 songs I like, and I didn't listen to it ever.
The end is spoiled in the first song, bro. Like they're talking about like.
Great. I assume that.
And I'm the damn fool who killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's crazy that was just a thing. Other random tidbits that I wanted to share before we move on. Like, we were going to change the $10 bill away from Hamilton to Harriet Tubman, and then we didn't because of Hamilton. and now we're changing the $20 bill, which had Andrew Jackson, who's generally a worse person or whatever, and is less popular. And so that was a fun thing.
It turns out that's actually a huge win for Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, being on the 20 is great. You don't really want to be on the 10.
You never want to be on a 10. 20 is the gold standard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 20 is the bill. The other thing I learned was, yeah, I mean, just how long it took Lin-Manuel Miranda. I mean, 2004 is when he started and read the book and started to think about this and how Hamilton versus Burr, and then read a biography. And then 2009 is when he gave the first, like, to the Obama White House. He gave like, here's what I'm working on, and gave one song or whatever during like a dinner. And then 2013 is when they did the first like run through at a workshop one through at some university, at Vassar University, and with Daveed Diggs and the crew there. And then 2015 off Broadway, and then Broadway's, and so that's kind of the trajectory.
It is crazy to think about. 16 years from in the past.
Yeah.
And pretty much like functionally 9 years before turning into something even remotely real, it appears.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is this is again, limited knowledge of both history and musicals or whatever, but from my perspective, this is a masterpiece. I don't know, I will consistently return to it, and I consistently am like compelled by it, and find new things. And
that would be interesting whether it stays whether it continues to be 50 years from now, as people are playing like Les Mis or whatever still, are they going to be playing Hamilton? And I guess we will find out then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm calling it now. That shit is timeless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. I think
there is an interesting thing. My wife is a teacher. She teaches, among other things, middle school drama, musical theater, and it's just been brought up of like, how do you do this in schools potentially? The high schoolers, like, is it cool if like some of the kids are white?
Mm-hmm.
Or if all of them are black, or if all of them are white, or I don't know. There's this huge race question, and I don't have a good answer for it. I don't think Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, the men were initially white, but now into Hamilton they black. Oh, but okay, at Haley's school, if most of them are, I maybe should have said her name, but whatever, her name's Haley. Oh, she's fine. That is yeah, it's like yeah, I agree. That's a tough.
We're gonna cross that bridge some point, but it's worth thinking about
It's
now.
almost certainly been
Yeah.
crossed and been a tough thing. Cool. Well, so that is Hamilton. And I do want to say for the listeners, we also do love, Gravity. We both love the song "Defying Gravity."
Oh,
Yeah,
Gravity
I
Out
mean,
of Wicked is
yeah,
incredible.
so we into that. We into
And
that.
also, pretty much anything coming out of Disney is just fucking gold.
If you're making us some animated stuff, we game for you.
Those are the only musicals I listen to, and they're brilliant.
Really good, yeah. Any other final thoughts on Hamiltonian?
I mean, I can't get enough of it, and it, yeah, I think it's just so interesting. Like, not only is it just great to listen to, and I fucking love it, listening to it just aesthetically, but like, I don't know, it talks a lot about what kind of we're talking about in, like, you know, American world conversations, like race and power and inaction versus action and legacy. I mean, all these, I don't know. I guess I'm just very, very compelled by it.
Yeah. So give it a listen if you haven't already, listeners, and let us know when you do. So now we're going to switch to the next section is the section where we pretend we're hip. But I guess Hamilton's kind of hip. And this hipness of this week is about this band called Sabaton, which is pretty controversial around the rest of this episode. Just for what it's worth, a little bit more heavy or heavy in the like heavy metal sense. And Sabaton is one of those. And Sabaton is like a kind of hard rock metalish band who sings songs about history, and they have and they do lots of really good primary source material and all this stuff. And there's a song that we're going to listen to called Primo Victoria, which is about the invasion of Normandy by the Allies. So let's give it a listen.
Through the gates of hell, as we make our way to heaven, through the Nazi lines. Primo Victoria.
Yeah, so that's the vibe. It is to the gates of hell. And it is one funny thing is that it's off the album. It instead of remastered, they call it rearmed. And it is I mean, and the interesting part about this music is how to they have songs where, and this one is like on the good side, quote unquote. It's like, oh, if they're Nazi lines on the way to heaven, we the Allies. But they have other songs that are like, we the Rommel army, and we're really good at panzer tanking people, and like let's go, baby. And you go to their concerts, and they're kind of like that. People getting hyped about both sides, but also the Axis and Nazis and stuff. So do you have any what do you think of the song?
Fine. I mean,
wow.
I think it's one of those where I probably have to listen a number of times to sort of get really into it. I think this is nature with all sort of music that or all new music that I listen to. getting past the superficial stuff that's like, wow, this is all new sounds, new whatever's, and then down into the actual content. One thing I do wonder about is the lyrics of this song feel, I don't know, simple? I don't know.
Definitely.
I compare this to Hamilton, which Hamilton is again this, you know, a similar sort of like, oh hey, we're telling a story of the past and we're doing it through music / rapping to some degree, and it's you can, maybe it's just it's biased at listening to it a lot, almost certainly, but like you kind of hear there's a million ways to say a specific thing, and you can kind of tell that Manuel Miranda was like sort of like narrowing all the, you know, the mediocre ones out, and he got to what he thought was really, really good. Whereas like with this stuff, it's like, okay, we like chipped away a few of them, and then this is good enough, call it a day.
That's funny. Yeah, I do think for what's worth, this is their first album. This was the 2007. Recorded in 2004 and released. Yeah. So this was their first. This was them becoming the band that did these kind of things. They are known for what's worth for being like, they did a really good history series with this guy who's super famous on YouTube for doing for covering World War I and World War II every week. And so he has every video of like, okay, and this week, and it's like an hour video of like, this is what happened. We did this, we did that. Here's what happened in Germany. Here's what happened in the United States, et cetera, et cetera. And Salvatone has collaborated with that guy around the content of their songs and how it relates to history and stuff like that. And then they also do some cool stuff of like recording. That's called The Great War. Sabaton History is the name of that. And then they've done some like some primary source material stuff, which is pretty interesting, of like people sending them historical documents that never been seen before by historians, and then they're using it like in their songs and stuff. So I agree with you that this is their coming of age story. But in any case, this is
it's not so. Maybe it's a little unfair to compare them.
You can hate us on that way. I mean, it all good. So that's Sabaton. And so if you're interested in history as told, World War II history specifically as told through music, then that's the thing to check out. And also if you think that should not be played at all because it's a little bit too much, repping, old school Nazi stuff, that is a reasonable perspective as well. So now we're going to listen to the genre of this week, which is, we're going to call it hardcore. And hardcore, you'll see what hardcore is like. Actually, we're going to start with, you'll see what hardcore is like. And some of these songs there's so many. The thing that I learned from, there's this Every Noise at Once genre map, which has, 4,000 different genres. And in my mind, and John, I think in your mind as well, when we were growing up, we didn't listen to much metal. And so then when I was like, oh, there's just this one thing called like, kind of like evil, abrasive texture, like metal music. And in fact, there's all these subgenres and stuff. And so this is kind of like a version. This is kind of metal-y, kind of industrial, but it's also very just like dancing, like 4 on the floor, like blah blah blah. So hardcore is more like intense dance music, kind of like angry dance music, and so this is kind of a mix of some hardcore and then a little bit of like industrial, I would say. So we're gonna do Chains. What's up?
House with Chains.
House with Chains, exactly. So this first one is TESJ number 1 by Carnage and Cluster. Let's check it out. So yeah, you get the vibe.
My wife would hate, deeply
hate.
viscerally hate. Like if
She would find where they lived, and she would take their
Oh,
kitten,
God.
and she would drown the kitten. Yes.
Yeah, and she loves cats.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see getting into that.
Yeah.
I think, it took a little bit to get there, but I generally
A little bit repetitive, but
yeah, and I actually tend to sort of like that repetitive sort of stuff. But yeah, it's I think to myself, it's just
good thing you got headphones on.
yeah. Haley,
this next
you
one-
could hear Haley from upstairs. What the fuck is that music?
Exactly. This next one is from the Happy Hardcore Top 100. So it's hardcore music that is combined with a kind of happier music. So let's it's called Wonderful Days, which is a song, which is like a non-hardcore song, but it's a little bit hardcore-ish. But then this is like a hardcore remix of it. So let's play it. And we're gonna go here. So that's the vibe of that song. The thing that I was excited by that song, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is good shit. And then I found the sample that they use, So On to Love, is this like Tony Rollins song, who's like this random person. It's like a million. I just found it randomly in like searching through my musical exploration. It has like 1 million plays or 500,000 plays. And I was so happy to find it. I was like, oh my God, I've heard this before. What's going on? And it's like some random like 70s song that has been sped up and put in this.
That reminds me of Old Town Road. The
Old Town Road. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? What's that?
Yeah, this guy, Lil Nas X, he sort of came on
Nazi what?
Yeah, but Old Town Road, apparently, samples a Nine Inch Nails track from one of their like old albums. I think it's like 2003. Some off of, I think it's called Ghosts. But yeah, it's I was like, I forget why I was like researching Lil Nas X or something.
I love finding out when things are in other songs and being
able
to.
What? I recommend that whole that Nine Inch Nails album. Like,
I mean, it's so good. Nine Inch Nails.
Trent
so
Reznor is onto something.
He's amazing. He's obviously an amazing artist. I think that he's ridiculous, and the Social Network soundtrack was amazing. That feeling is good though, because then you've already listened to the song enough so that you pretty much, when you listen to the old remix version, you just like naturally love it because it's already in your brain. So yeah, that's a nice thing. So that's the happy. You get the hardcore vibes. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, this next one is Do Ins FF Rustig by Noise Kick. And this is Industrial Reborn Volume 1. So this is why maybe we're not fully in hardcore, but a little bit industrial. In any case, let's check it out.
Godverdomme, jongen. Doe eens even rustig.
You're sick in the fucking head!
De minister van Justitie heeft mij niet overtuigd.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna like this crap. Yeah.
Oh my god, love it.
Especially that one. That one's nice because it's both the boom, 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 but also with some more interesting textures.
Yeah, it's God, yeah, it's that was great because also I think it's with that the nature of it, or just it's just got syncopation in it. Whereas the other one was sort of just like you know, and just like till the end of time.
Where's the syncopation in this one?
Or maybe it's just like there are breaks, you know,
Breaks.
in
Da 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 da. Boom, 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 boom. Da 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 da. Boom, boom. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's good. It's definitely industrial or whatever, but it's also I think because it has the like. I think that's the kind of definition of hardcore. Okay, let's listen to this next one called "The Future" by Diprax.
I'm the gangbang general. Criminal. Lyrical time bomb, time bomb, time bomb, time bomb, time bomb, time bomb, time bomb. Sick on this gangster shit.
I love that case. And how long do you think we listened to?
45 seconds.
Yeah, it's a minute, but yeah, it's a good minute. You know, that's a full minute, and it has, yeah, it's funny because it's all the songs are so the same because they're all just the same, like do, 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 do.
And
there's so much difference.
Sort of like, yeah, I do think I'm running into a similar sort of problem with like, you know, reggaeton and all that, where like it's, you know, I'm only exposed to a little amount of it, and so I just like only hear the like the clipped bass, barely tonal, gritty, like to but I mean I think that one is obviously, you know, a little bit certainly more unique, and it was certainly more unique than the first one, at least.
Interesting. Yeah, the first one though, I mean, this one's
kind of hangs down that
zone. It's really just the same.
Maybe diverse is the
difference. And the other nice thing is, yeah, this one's really pushing. That's I went to 2 minutes and 3 minutes. That's just really pushing the noise. How much noise can you get in there? You know. Let's listen to this final one called 4 A.M. by Scooter. Scooter is kind of, it's on the 20 years.
So we're gonna listen to that the Grimes.
Grimes. What about Grimes?
The 4 A.M. off of Miss Anderson.
Not hardcore. This one is Scooter, 20 Years of Hardcore. This song is funny because it's technically hardcore music, like Scooter makes hardcore music, but this song you can get a vibe for how, just like with that Wonderful Days soundtrack with I'm in the ba-da-da-ba-da-da, you can get a vibe for where hardcore can become more poppy. So let's listen to this. So that's the vibe of that one. You go.
Doesn't sound like hardcore. yeah.
Totally. Well, I think I think it's hardcore because it does the like. It's just very much like when it comes
In the morning and
not that everything that has a 4 on the floor is hardcore, but
Yeah.
I think that I agree. Like it's a hardcore band making a more poppy song.
Yeah. It sounds. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe like one of the like. I'm not knowledgeable enough with like sound engineering, but it sounds like pretty much hardcore. Hardcore has almost no high like trebles. Whereas like this, I think had quite a bit more of it.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I agree. It's I'm reading on the interwebs here, and it says in the 90s in Netherlands, Germany, which kind of makes sense. Like all these songs have like weird German names and crap, and like are like northern folks.
You got the stupid German letter.
Yeah, I think the difference in this faster tempos, 160 to 200 BPM or more. The intensity of the kicks. And violent themes, and then the saturation close to that of industrial dance music. And then I guess it spawned a subgenre called gabber, which I know nothing about, but gabber. So I do think that this is I agree. I mean, I think it's a funny.
Gabber sounds incredibly benign.
Yeah, gabber.
Gabber, it's roughly like it's like a folk. It's folk, but from the but from the Upper Peninsula.
Exactly. No, it turns out it's where you go to like do mosh pitting hard. That's funny. Yeah. So that's hardcore music, and I think the main thing that I think about with this is like just like with dubstep and things like that. It's nice when you have people who are pushing the bounds on this, so that when you get like I don't know how much PC music folks have listened to hardcore. I don't know how much other folks are making, but if you're making electronic dance music, you're listening to some hardcore and stuff, and so you're like pulling in maybe some more of the aggressive, like boom, 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 boom. So it's cool to see just like pushing the 4 on the floor fast bass, and maybe that has showed up in other ways as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I think the adjacent thing that I always think of is not. It's definitely not the same, but Kill the Noise. Sort of. I don't know. We were already talking about this. I don't know if we did, but just the sort of aggressiveness. I guess I'm more interested in the aggressiveness of something like Kill the Noise or
where it's like versus blah 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 blah. Kill your mother, blah blah blah.
I guess like it's using a hammer to beat your face in, as opposed to like taking sandpaper or like a file and just filing away at your ears.
Yeah, it totally does. That's what it feels like to listen. We'll hope you all enjoyed that, listeners. Glad you got to see the wide variety of stuff we like.
Welcome to the world of music.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're going to listen to 5 songs, and John's going to rate them. So these are 5 nice songs that I listened to recently. So let's start this first one. This is called "Bitch I'm Fabulous" remix.
Hello, everybody. My name's Mark Rock. Welcome back to the News. Beat her with sexuality tokens. Oh, I'm done. I didn't even need to do.
Okay, that's 40 seconds, just the right amount. That's you want.
Just exactly the dose recommended by professionals.
And that song is only 2 minutes long. Just listen.
Oh yeah, I mean, you couldn't handle much more than that. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's because yeah, so I wonder what the remix part of it is, but so that's the first jam. Marky Plier is who that is. This next one is Coco by Sincato and Charlie Robbins. Let's check it out. You dig it, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's fun. Yeah, I love music. Great music is often when like the artist is clearly expressing, and I feel like that was like those musicians were fucking loving what they were doing.
Yeah, you can imagine them having a good time. I also think that
Yeah.
it's also cool when you just hear music where it's just clearly skilled, where you're just like, yeah, this stuff is pretty math rocky, is what I think the genre that you would call this. Math rocky, but also, yeah, I don't know what else you'd call it, but I think math rocky is definitely where everybody's playing really quickly and playing really well, and it's so much cool, interesting syncopation stuff.
Yeah, because was it a different time signature that they used in the
I'm not sure. But yeah, there's some different flowy vibes there.
Something weird happened there.
Something weird here. Experts. Okay, so there's actually gonna be one more math rock one in a second, but before that, we're gonna listen to the song "Tomboy" by Princess Nokia. Do you know Princess Nokia? She's good. She's like a Cardi B adjacent person. Yeah. So this is "Tomboy."
With my little titties and my fat belly, I could tell your man if you finna let me, it's a guarantee that he won't forget me. My body little, my soul is heavy. My little titties be booking cities all around the world. They be fucking with me. I'm a Calvin Klein model, come and get me. Sip the resi up, don't be fucking with me. My little titties are so itty bitty, I go loco.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, really good. Amazing amount of the sounds of the vroom, vroom is amazing, and then the drop being a sword unsheathing.
That girl is a tomboy. 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 Who that is, ho?
Fuck. That's sick.
Oh
man. There's not a whole lot of songs out there with that much flex.
No. My little titties, my fat belly, my little titties, my fat belly. It's like, yeah,
dude. It like that sort of it's an interesting pattern too, starting with the chorus and then like dump right into the verse. It reminds me a lot, but vaguely of Rage Against the Machine's first album. Had I guess not all of it, but a lot of it had a lot of repetition, like Killing in the Name of, Wake Up, both of those tracks, especially. Like
and this one's just kind of just going,
You get that same line again, and the funny thing about it is like repetition can be monotonous, but also it like.
If it's what you want, then you keep wanting it.
Yeah, like there's a reason chants are a thing people connect with, and because it's there's like slight variations in it, and it's still like sort of just very focused.
I just thought about how Black Lives Matter, like nice and easy. Build that wall, nice and easy. Make America Great Again. Thank God that's not easy to do. Make America Great Again. Yeah, white America. It's like that's.
You have to really. You don't have the break on that 4.
No, you don't. Yeah, exactly. You need time to breathe. So that's a good jam. And Princess Nokia is just a good one of my
Keep
friends.
America Great though.
Keep America Great. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. I guess Obama stuff like hope.
Somebody should sample that and turn it into something important.
Yeah, that's funny. Princess Nokia is just a cool. Yeah, she's part of the like Cupcake, Princess Nokia, Aquafina, just a class of folks who are just doing cool like she's on the Feelin' Myself Spotify pod thing where it's like it is folks who are pushing the femininity and talking sexually about themselves, but in a cool way. So that's Tomboy. This next one is called Nasty, featuring Jason Richardson by Polyphia. They're pretty good.
Yeah, hear me.
Oh, I was just gonna say the intro is a little bit too long, in my opinion. But 50 seconds is when it's like you could cut out a couple of those 4 bars. But yeah, I mean, for me, I love the part where it goes. Da, 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 da.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a band.
I love that, and then they mess with that later in the song too, as like a comeback to da 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 da. It's such just like an easy comeback to vibe. Yeah, pretty cool, and just switching stuff up.
Yeah, I mean it's. Actually, I think I maybe prefer this one to the other.
Yeah.
Just because it's the other one's fun as shit. But I think the groove of this one is interesting, and you kind of get a little more. You kind of see. You're just like, oh, it's like is it a dude playing the drums and a dude playing the guitar? Yeah, there may be a bass in there. I didn't really look out for it, but like, it's less. There's not a whole instrumentation background.
Totally. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so this final one is called Heart Attack. It's by Odessa, so it's just a banger or whatever, featuring Laura, but LAU.RA, all lowercase. Heart Attack is all uppercase. Okay, here we go.
Because
that's what you do.
Because they know who Kendrick is.
This love's a heart attack. This love's a heart attack. This love's a heart attack. See ya.
it's like it's good, but it's a mediocre version of that kind of shit. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it does it, honestly. It kills it in most regards. And obviously, this is a pretty high quality version of
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's
but
not,
like,
the other ones feel different to you, and this one is less so. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Like, when it went into the sort of chorus, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm all right. Like, a little unexpected, sort of keeps that energy down, but introduces the bass. Okay, I kind of dig that. But what I want you to come in with is like, like bring in some like fucking stabby melodies, man. And like that's
yeah, they ain't. Yeah. They're just keeping it, and that's why. And I mean, that's why I think the song. Hey, I just love a song that has a good. Just like when you're in Ableton searching, clicking through all the different basses.
Yeah.
And just this one is just like. It's just it's like. Just like having a nice bass thing.
What does it matter?
It's so nice, I do think they do a pretty good job with textures too. It's with like the like weird clappy stuff.
Yep.
Yep. And so, but yeah, they keep it. It's an interesting kind of thing where they're keeping it chill. It just, boom. It's just like, boom, boom, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't appreciate it. It's just not,
It doesn't stand above. Yeah, I totally get that. So we're gonna play the 5 again, and then John's gonna vote on it. So this first one, "Bitch, I'm Fabulous."
Hello, everybody. My name's Mark Black. Welcome back to Lindy.
And then we got the first math rocky one, "Coco." And then we got our girl Princess Nokia doing "Tomboy." Cool beginning.
Oh, just do weird shit.
Girl is a tomboy. Who that is, ho? That girl is a tomboy. That girl.
And then we got "Nasty," the second math rocky thing with a little too much of an intro, but it's pretty tight. And then we got "Heart Attack," which is just a classic, just low bass 4 on the floor bumper.
When I say Odessa, you hear this in your mind.
Exactly.
This love's a heart attack.
Alright, so what's your vote? Who at the bottom?
Odessa's the word. It's the worst of the. It's just not compelling. It's good. I mean, this is the thing. I feel like it's similar to like. When I think about James Blake, there are some James Blake tracks that are just stand completely above everything else in that sort of thing. But then a lot of other.
Then a lot of them are like, all right, you're kind of just like moaning about whatever.
Yeah, and you sort of see, you're like, oh man, like this dude has a really great grasp of production. And I feel like it's kind of similar with Odessa, where it's just sort of like, oh, yeah, it's an Odessa track. It's a throwaway song on an album. Like these are the hits. Yeah. Then I think the next one would be probably "Bitch, I'm Fabulous." It's fun and it's awkward as shit, and those are all great things, but it is maybe a little tough to get through. But not too hard. I mean, honestly, it's not so difficult.
But there's a big jump between the Odessa one and "Bitch, I'm Fabulous." Is maybe
in general, I think if I were to like grade these, I would say Odessa would be like a D.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I would say "Bitch, I'm Fabulous" is roughly like a B. And I would give a B or B minus or B plus to the second track called "Coco." "Coco" is good, fun. I think the sort of it's just it's fun. It's got a good energy. It's less, I don't know. It just feels less interesting than
the other one. Yeah.
The other
Nasty.
Nasty, yeah.
And so do you think Nasty versus Tomboy?
And I would say, honestly, I think Nasty is B+ A- realm. It's interesting. Yeah, the intro is a little long, but I do think that it's just interesting. Hearing this, because I'm relatively confident as a guitar, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know.
But yeah, like it starts out with him just fucking running on the guitar, and I've played enough guitar and I'm bad enough at guitar to know that what that dude is doing feels really hard. But it's also not completely like unintelligible. So yeah, B+ A-, and then a solid A is Tomboy. Just it's got woo, man.
Yeah.
It just like also too. Here's the thing. It's like, those samples that are being used are. It's not. What's that?
Petting my cat.
Oh,
Shadow.
Hello, Shadow. The samples that are being used are shit. I remember listening to the Beach Boys, and like "She's Really Fine" by 409, whatever the fuck that song is. That's got a similar sort of thing where it starts with like the revving of the engines and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, but it feels like that sort of. It feels there's something there, and then also like you mentioned, and I noticed upon second listening is like the drop is the drawing of a sword. Like how fucking badass
that's cool.
is that? You can't be more badass than that.
And the lyrics too. My little titties, my fat belly. My little titties, my fat belly. Like that's it's cool lyrics.
Yeah, it so. And this is and people critique sort of the male hubris of rap, and I think this is a good foil to and a healthy foil to that kind of shit. I
think for me the order would probably be pretty similar. I think we agree. Sometimes we disagree, but I pretty much agree. I mean, I put Heart Attack higher than you do, probably not D, but more C range, because I think it's a good. It's just like getting a song that really is chill but bumps is tough. Bitch I'm Fabulous is pretty interesting, but yeah, a little bit much, and doesn't change it up too much. And then Coco and Nasty I think are pretty similar. I think I don't differentiate them too much. And then Tomboy's a great. So yeah, I pretty much Heart Attack a little bit lower than the rest. Probably Bitch I'm Fabulous a little bit lower than the other three, and then the rest above. Cool. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, folks. John, I mean, I guess.
So and I also think we're gonna listen to the rest of Hamilton and go over each track. And
man, that's what's happening. Now we're in the bonus part. So the
join our Patreon and you can listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you can listen to exactly. There's a one note is I do think these 5 songs. I think it's good to do the grades because I think sometimes these grades were generally higher than some other weeks where sometimes it's kind of like, it's kind of like a couple of D's and then like a B and an A or whatever.
Yeah.
All this week was like more B's and A's. So for next time, I mean, stuff we've thought about are our boy Bill Wirtz.
Bill Wirtz.
Bill Wirtz, so good. We were thinking of women as well and doing.
You haven't forgotten.
We have not forgotten. I forgot what I mean. We could do like Sean Colvin or Fleetwood Mac. I wonder if there's any new. I mean, we could do Grimes. I mean,
I think.
Right. I feel like there is a little bit though about like being, because if people want to listen to Grimesy stuff, it's like, I already will. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Well, Bill Wirtz is like more unique.
I definitely agree. I mean, I think Bill Wirtz is much more interesting, much more. I'm confident, controversial, and
I think Pogo is also on the list for me of just.
You love your Pogo.
I love Pogo.
Deeply love Pogo.
There's also a thing of like, or maybe those just be. I think in the future we're gonna do a midsection, just like how last time we did Zombies. I think a future one will be about Jesus. There's a lot of songs about Jesus, like Jesus was way cool.
Jesus was way cool, and
Such
that's
a good
right.
track.
Oh, dude, that's
So
it
good.
defined a generation.
Did it? Let's do Bill Wirtz next time.
Cool, I'm into it. I'm looking through all the shit that I listen to, and I think Bill Wirtz would be a totally fine. Actually, it would be exceptional. More than fine. Yeah, Bill Wirtz. Everybody, come for the Bill Wirtz show because it's unique and it's great. I'm actually really interested potentially in doing a version of the show, not next week. Bill Wirtz is next week, but where we defend the undefendable.
I would defend crappy music.
Yeah, I think not defend crappy music, but here's stuff like Rebecca Black's like Friday, or to some degree, like Taylor Swift stuff, or maybe it is more controversial music, like you were saying with the artist you referenced earlier in the show,
Sabatone, yeah.
Sabatone. But I think there's something. I'm always having this debate with colleagues on Album Club about how give people a chance.
Yeah, we could play some Ed Sheeran. We could play some like random pop stuff. That could be.
Ed Sheeran. We could play some Adele. Things like that. Where I can tell you my whole story about wanting to hate her last album. Finding out that it's actually really nice.
Nice, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's on the list. So with that, listeners, we'll next week is Bill Wirtz, and future weeks will be more. Will be just us listening to bad music. So definitely tune in for that.
Defending unbadifying music.
Unbadifying music by talking over it. That's what we call that. So thank you for listening, and reach out if you have any comments. Just smash that like button, baby.
Smash it, or the subscribey.
Subscribey. Actually, that's actually what you can do. Subscribey to us. We need it.
All right.
Okay. I clicked stop on the